Morning. That's all
right, sir. Good.
you can pay $500. Luckily, I don't.
Good evening, everyone. I'll go ahead and call the Tuesday, August 16th meeting to order. Would you please stand for the invocation by Councilmember Herron and remain standing for the flag salute, please.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the beautiful day you've given us, Lord. We just pray you just be with us council members up here and the mayor tonight, Lord, as we make decisions that we hope to be pleasing and glorifying to your name. Just be with us, guide us as we make decisions for this city. We just pray you just be with the armed forces tonight. We just thank you, Lord, for the freedom that we have in this country. In your name we pray.
Amen. Please face the flag. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. The first item on tonight's agenda is the consent docket. We have items A through C. Do any of those need to be pulled or addressed separately?
Yes, I have a item that I would like to go ahead and pull from item C. It's on page 3. It is 10-005123. It's in Department 7, the second item down. I would like to pull that. And that's in conjunction with having a little bit more time to review the comp plan. There were some items that were found and has been, some of them have been corrected, but I have not had enough time to go back and look at the document the way that I would like to make sure that all items are corrected.
Could we also table B or vote it separate or table it or something until we have some time to go through the...
Yeah, I would like to, table item B until the next meeting.
Okay, so we have a motion to table item B. We'll vote on that separately.
I would like an explanation of the workers' comp claim calculations and how that was inaccurate and so forth before we vote on it.
Okay, well, we're just voting on, okay, B is the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, but that's under the claims.
And you're wanting to look at what?
I think it's stapled in with the claims, and it has an addendum to the claims list for August 16, and that was calculated incorrectly. I'm not questioning it, I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
There was a miscommunication on that. We pay workers' compensation quarterly, and what that was they paid the whole year and realized what it was, backed it out, and then paid for the quarter.
Okay.
So that amount is for the whole year, and we only pay quarterly. And there's no need to pay for a whole year when we can draw interest,
Okay.
12 cents on that amount. So, yeah, that's what the problem was.
Thank you.
Okay, but we have a motion to table item B. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yes, you had the motion. I was looking for a second.
Second.
Okay, a motion to table item B. Please post your votes. Okay, so that item will be tabled. Now we have items A and C, the consent docket. Your question was answered, Ms. Harris, and Ms. Holloway, you would like to pull the invoice for the payment to MIG? Okay. Or-
And like to have the acceptance of the final version at the next meeting, back on the agenda.
Okay, are you also making a motion for acceptance of the consent docket minus the pulled item?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second on the consent docket?
Second.
Items A and C specifically, sorry.
I have a question, city manager. What is our multiplier at the present time on workman's compensation? Could the financial director advise me of that?
They use 4 different factors in this,
I understand.
and right now, we are at a discount.
JR, please, I'm sorry.
Sorry. That's for.
There's another workers' comp claim, see?
Rates are going up as we speak.
As we speak, our discount has gone up in what we're paying to them to bring our rates down another 100,000 from the previous year, or roughly thereabouts. So, I don't have the numbers with me right now, Mr. Shirey, but, when I did the calculations, it came out, I believe, to around 24.5%. But I'll be glad to get that for you.
Okay, like last year, I believe it was at 45%.
The net effect was, yeah,
Yes, which meant that we were paying our workman's compensation base rate multiplied by 145. Is this correct?
is that work paper attached to that?
It's not a discount, it's an addition to, it's a normal cost.
No, there are discounts for payments, the terms of the payments, there's 5 different factors once you have the rate. Well, there's 4 different factors once you have the rate,
Yes.
that, they adjust that premium by.
Each field that we have here, the fire department, the community development department, police department, all have a different rate.
That's correct.
And our experience factor of how many claims we've had is taking into judgment with this. It can be the rate that we have for the
Susan, would you
workman's
pull that claim?
compensation. Workman's compensation goes in at a 100%. Then how our experience factor goes into that is can go up from that from a plus to a minus. And what I am trying to determine is what is the factor, whether it's a plus or a minus. And you're saying it's 24% plus.
I'm hoping that it's attached to the claim itself, the calculation sheet.
Okay. I was unable to get here this week to check that.
Mr. Shire, even with all the overhead and fluff, you can imagine, it's still cheaper than
Well, I understand that.
you're gonna get anywhere.
Well, but you being an insurance agent can justify that. I can understand that.
Well,
But what I am trying to determine is how much better effort do we need to put forth by city staff to reduce our workman's compensation rates?
Well, Mr. Shirey, our rates
I
were
know-
$100,000 less than they were last year. I think.
And
our
that was
staff is doing
100,000 less than the year
incredible.
before.
I think
You know,
if we
so
dropped
I
it
think short of
100,000
putting
because of-
everyone in a nice little soft wheelbarrow and wheeling them around, I mean, we're doing an incredible job with our training, with
That's what I'm-
everything
that's
that
what I'm
we can.
asking.
So, yeah, we're doing a very good job.
We need to do we need to get it below 100%.
Well, we're doing a
Well-
very good job with the safety trainings. We have monthly safety trainings. We have large quarterly safety trainings. We have tailgate safety trainings. I mean, we understand that some things are just going to happen.
Is that what's called an accident?
It's called an accident.
Well, and our
We
biggest,
also-
our biggest rates are in public safety, where you have the most, you have the guys most prone to being involved in an accident.
Rush in where judgment
The work,
should be
the,
used.
the biggest problem we have truthfully is in sanitation.
Sanitation.
Where those guys are picking up these little bitty trash cans full of concrete, and we have probably 2 or 3 men out right now with back injuries. And that's just the way it is. And nationwide, not just in Bethany, nationwide, sanitation workers are the most injured employee that you have. And I think Bethany does an outstanding job of trying to protect the employees. I think we need to maybe do a little bit better job of training the citizens to let them know that you don't fill a trash can full of concrete or rocks. And when they grab hold of that, it's heavy, and if they're not prepared for it, you know, these guys are trying to meet a time period, and they're gonna hurt themselves that way.
The limit on your cans is 50 pounds.
40 times.
40
Okay, that's even better. But in answer to your question, this year, we're using a modifier of 100% of the standard rate. Discounted, the premium discount is 24.10%. Our claims credit, because we are a good customer, is 15% on top of that. So our bill went pre-discount from $410,499.63 to $373,266.
$499
No, 410,000.
or $409.
2 years ago, our premium, I believe, for the year was five and a quarter
Over
thousand.
$500,000.
Yes, it was over $500,000.
And
So
now
we're
it's
down-
to the threes.
We're down nearly $200,000 in a year, so that's substantial for this many
And this is
employees.
due to our training program.
Our training.
And if I can get back to my chair.
That's not to say that 2 people get injured and you
Well-
don't have a $500,000 again, because that's the way it works. I mean, but
But it also works from the point that we're unable to pay our employees as much money.
well, you're right, and I guarantee you, they're told that on a regular basis. The more we spend on workers' comp, the
That's
less
what
we
I'm-
spend on them.
That's what
So,
I'm beating
yes,
the drum
they
for.
understand that,
Good.
so. But with the healthcare cost the way it is, I mean, it doesn't take very many injuries for
No.
workers' comp to skyrocket. We're just been very fortunate, so.
Yes, we have a motion and a second for approval of the claims list, minus pulling MIG's payment. Please post your votes. All right, item 2 is called to the public. If any member of the audience wishes to address the council, please step forward to the podium. First state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Hearing or seeing none, I'll move on to item 3, which is consideration and possible adoption of resolution number 1418, enacting and adopting a supplement to the Code of Ordinances of Bethany, Oklahoma, and notifying the public of publications of the supplement. Steve?
This is basically a routine item. It's just to keep our ordinance book up to date by adding the supplemental, the changes in our ordinances. Is that correct?
Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
I have a question. Are these immediately updated on the website, or does that have to wait until this is approved when there are changes? So they're online before we approve them here? Okay. Right. They don't wait for the compilation and approval of the compilation before they put them on the website?
I would assume maybe they do, but I don't know for sure either.
Because I was looking for something the other day and I couldn't find it, and I thought,
Well, it would make sense to me that they might not do it until after this is done. And then these also have to be filed with the county law library and the county clerk. So, you know, I would guess that they probably
Would
wait.
somebody
but-
find out and let us know?
Susan, do you know?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're already there, I don't know.
received the updated pages.
Okay, well, it probably is on there then.
Okay, if somebody
So-
could confirm that, that would be good for us to know.
So we received the updated pages from the company themselves? Okay. I think
And those
it'd
will
be
be
good to go
distributed.
online and check and double check that it's done online.
Those pages will be available to those people who have a book. I think most people are probably using the website now, but there are some books out there too.
Will there be a disc, a media disc, a multimedia disc with this?
Not since we're put them on the web, there's not. We used to get disc
I know we
before
used
they
to
went
get
onto the web, but now that they're on the internet, no, we don't have the disc anymore. We used to sell the disc too, but I don't believe we do that anymore.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Please post your votes. Thank you. Item 4, consideration and possible approval of plans and specifications, including any ODEQ requirements for CIP 13-01, the sanitary sewer rehabilitation, and authorize staff to solicit bids for the project. Steve?
This is the improvement to the West Side Sewer Project. This is a major sewer project for the city of Bethany. We've been working on this for a long time, the actual design phase of it. This is a very important project for Bethany, as you can imagine. I think that everyone is familiar with this. Are you familiar with this?
No,
This
or
is
minimally,
This is, do what now?
minimally.
Minimally. It's actually Steve is here to actually answer questions if we have detailed questions. But yeah, why don't you go ahead and just give us a briefing on it? Very briefing on it.
I would like for the people that are listening at home to know what we're doing. So,
Very good.
thank you.
This is a project that started technically about a year ago, but actually longer than that. You all remember when he had a collapse of the Northwest 50th Force Main, and that kind of started us looking at what we need to do, and we went through, you authorized an engineering study on what we need to do, you authorized the engineering contract. Now we are at the point where we have 100% design phase ready to go. We're ready to get it to DEQ. We've got the permit application, the engineer's report, the hydraulic analyses, the specifications, full plans ready to go and ready to bid as soon as we get a permit. So we would very much like to get that process moving ahead, and your authorization tonight would do just that. Just to summarize, we're going to replace about 3,900 feet of 24-inch interceptor line. That interceptor carries about 2/3 of the wastewater from this entire city. About 6,200 feet of 18-inch force main, and then a rehab or lift station up at 58th and Rockwell. Hopefully, if the bids come in, we'll be able to do all three. But in a nutshell, that's what it is, and it's a very, very important project. This interceptor and force main were put in back in 1967, I believe. So they're beyond their useful life.
Could you put in just layman's terms for citizens, what does that do for them to have that?
Well, again, it carries 2/3 of the wastewater for the city. If you live basically in the west side of Bethany and we have a failure in either this force main or interceptor, your toilets won't work anymore. That's a pretty important thing. Or if they do work, it's going to be discharging somewhere other than where it's supposed to, which means the city could be fined up to $10,000 a day. So it could be very important, either health-wise or financially or both, if this failed. And we've already had 2 failures in the force main. I believe Mr. Harsman pointed out the first failure was a big emergency. Our sewer guys have gotten so good, and they knew what to do this time. The second one took them about a day to fix it. So we're all very proud of them for that. But it's showing us that we really, really need to get this done quickly. So,
Thank you.
all right.
Steve, sorry.
Go ahead.
Steve, is it going to be a temporary line set on top while they're doing this, or is it gonna be a whole new line?
This will be a combination. The force main is going to be, they're actually going to lay a new one parallel to the old one while it's in operation. The interceptor, they will do bypass pumping as they do in between. Some of it's going to be open dig, some of it's going to be pipe bursting, but as they do each segment, they will actually pump around where they're working to get it done. But there will be no service disruption while they're doing it. It'll be a mess, don't get me wrong, but fortunately, most of it's north of 39th, so it'll kind of be out in the woods where nobody will have to look at it for a while. Yeah.
Steve, where does the remaining 1/3 tie into that gravity flow line?
They all tie together up on 63rd Street, just about Mueller, where they come together. The gravity line, the force main dumps in at 50th and Rockwell, and then goes gravity to 63rd, and then back on 63rd to the east. The rest of the city comes straight up between Peniel, and there's a big 18-inch interceptor that runs right up behind those houses that brings the east side of Bethany, and they come together just right there at about 63rd and Mueller is where they finally come together, and then it's all the way up to Bluff Creek. And it really is downhill from here. It's gravity all the way up to 192nd and Meridian. So.
And what diameter pipe is that from 63rd?
I'm not sure how big Glenn's is right there. It could be, I think 36 would be a good guess, but I don't know. That's the BWA, PWA pipe once it leaves our fair city right there, and we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? How is this funded, and are the funds available to proceed?
Yes, the funds are available. The funding is both through a Clean Water State Revolving Fund, and that's the majority of it, but I understand there's a little bit more in another fund as well. But
Which is a
majority of it-
low-interest
There's going to be
loan.
no bond issues, nothing?
No, this was a state revolving fund loan, I believe, that was refinanced about a year and a half ago, much better rates, and we were able to up the amount to be able to cover this from a previous loan that had been financed.
So our citizens will not be charged any more when this goes in than what they
No,
have?
these are all, again, revenue bond or revolving fund loans that are built into the rates already.
Any other questions of staff? Do we have a motion for approval of the plans and specifications?
Motion to approve, please.
Second.
Okay. Steve, I just want to say thank you to you and Garver for your hard work for a long, long time on this. I know it's something that has made many people nervous for a long time, that force main being so old, and I'm glad we're going to be finally getting to work on it. All right, we do have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Please post your votes. Thank you. Item 5, consideration and possible approval of the project agreement with the attached funding obligations agreement with Metropolitan Library System for the new Bethany Library. Steve?
This is the agreement between the city and the MLS, Metropolitan Library System. This agreement sets forth the payment responsibilities for each party. This item consists of the project agreement and the funding schedule. If you have any questions, David has worked tirelessly on this. I think he told me the other day he worked up a sweat. So this is, again, just another step in this project, and we have to get this step taken care of to continue to move along.
That's because his AC was out, right?
That was, yeah.
Do we have a,
I think we do have some representatives of the library here. I don't know that they want to be heard, but.
do we have a motion for consideration and possible approval of the project agreement?
I'll make a motion that we approve, please.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
Do we have blueprints on this job yet?
We haven't hired the architect yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to guess that answer is no.
You'll probably do that at your next meeting.
Ms. Larson, did you have anything you wanted to add on any of this? You know, you've been working on the library stuff and it's your committee.
Well, the committee has been very diligent, and I agree with Mr. Hartsman that David has come above and beyond the expectations that we initially thought in making sure that all of our contracts are as they should be to the benefit of all the people that are going to be involved with it. I want to thank again the citizens, and I think all of us are looking forward to a new building and new activity across the way here.
Anybody from the library care to be heard?
We are just excited. Well, you can see, we're just sitting here. Very, very happy. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you. All right, we do have a motion and a second. Please post your votes. Thank you. Item 6 is consideration and possible approval of the lease agreement with the Metropolitan Library System for the new library. Steve?
This is the next step. This document covers the lease between the library and the city. The city pays for the insurance on the actual building. The library pays for the contents of the building. Again, David has done a fantastic job with this.
Do we have a motion for approval of the lease agreement?
Motion to approve, please.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second. I've got a question.
Go ahead.
This is over and above the current lease we have now?
This lease won't become effective until the new building is complete.
Okay, that was my question.
So I think the intent is that the existing building, once the contract is let for construction, the existing building, I believe, will be demolished and the contents moved to a new location temporarily. And then, but this new lease will start when the new building is complete.
Are we allowed to announce where that new location is yet? Yeah, in case it, hasn't already leaked out everywhere, but are you all aware? Do you know, can we tell that? Uh-huh. The temporary location? Okay. Then we won't say anything about it. So everyone that knows, it's just a rumor, so.
Don't be spreading
Don't
nasty
spread the
rumors.
rumor. Okay.
Any other questions or discussion on the lease? Please post your votes. Thank you. All right. Item 7 is consideration of possible approval of resolution number 1419, disclaiming any interest in and releasing a portion of a certain utility easement in and across Lot 31 and 32 of Block 1 in the Brownsville addition to Bethany, Oklahoma, Oklahoma County, Oklahoma, and authorizing the mayor to execute a release and disclaimer of any rights of the city of Bethany and acceptance of a replacement easement to substitute for released portion of the easement. The property address is 8112 Brownsville Lane in Bethany. Steve?
This is all to fix a big problem. I don't know exactly how much. David, you want to take this one?
Sure, I'll be glad to. When the engineers were hired to design this replacement project that you just approved the plans for submittal on, they discovered that a portion of this sewer line that was built, I believe, in the late 50s, was under a structure on a home at 8112 Brownsville Lane. That structure is a building and a swimming pool. And this sewer line, as I understand, is quite deep at that location. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have been able to build a swimming pool on top of it. But once we discovered that, we realized that it was a problem in terms of how we were going to replace that line. The engineer came up with the idea of routing around that pool, which, without having a map to show you, this house generally faces north,
North,
west,
north,
north. And this line would start at the northwest corner and kind of go diagonal to the southeast. Okay, but at any rate, the new line that is proposed to be laid would be along the western boundary of this property, going from the Brownsville Lane, more or less south or southerly to the alley, and then connecting back with the sewer line. So basically, you're just avoiding the risk of damaging property by trying to pipe burst that line underneath someone's swimming pool and underneath their building, because according to the engineer, the vibration and disturbance caused by that process could easily damage the structure. So that's basically what this is about.
Were they aware that the sewer was there?
Were they aware? I can't really answer that. The house was built quite a long time ago, I think more than 20 years ago. And the swimming pool, I'm not sure whether it was built at the same time the house was or not. All I can tell you is that this sewer line showed on the plat of the property, and the easement was filed of record. So if they didn't know, they should have known. But it's been so long ago, no one really knows. We tried to research our building permit records to determine how it could have happened, and we weren't able to locate any records of the building permit on that pool. So we don't really know how it happened. But it did happen, and it's something that's got to be dealt with.
All right, thank you, David. Do we have a motion for approval of the resolution number 1419?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this so that we can get the ball rolling on that sewer line.
One
We've been waiting
question.
a long time.
But the homeowners don't have any problem. There's no,
No, we met with them last week and had a nice visit with them. Steve Caton went with me and our consulting engineer on this project, and explained all the details, and they're good with it because, in effect, this is to their advantage too, because the old line that's under their house is going to be abandoned and pumped full of concrete so that it won't later down the road collapse and cause problems. So they understood that it's to their advantage as well. So.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Make second.
All right, any other questions or discussion? Please post your votes.
That old line
Thank you.
it won't be removed. It'll just remain in place with concrete in it.
Okay, item 8 goes along with that. It's consideration and possible acceptance of the replacement of permanent and temporary sanitary sewer easements in and across Lot 31 and 32 of the Brownsville addition at 8112 Brownsville Lane. Do we have a motion for approval on that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
and there was no complaints from the owners of 31 and 32.
It's the same person.
It's the same property.
Uh-huh.
All right, please post your votes. Thank you. Item 9, it's consideration and possible confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Watts L. Carlson as the Bethany's representative to the commission, to the Metropolitan Library Commission. I'd like to nominate Watts L. Carlson. Watts L. has, as you see in her bio, done a lot of things with the library over the years, currently with the Friends of the Library, and I think she will serve this city well in moving forward. And I know she's very excited about the opportunity with the new library and what that future brings. So I would like to make a motion that we approve Watts L. Carlson to the Library Commission.
I'll second, and I want to thank you for agreeing to participate, and I also want to thank Deanna for her many, many years that she served in this position.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, Deanna was Mayor Johnston's appointment to that, and I've reappointed her a couple of times, but she's ready to step down, so Watts L's ready to move forward, so awesome opportunity. Any questions or discussion? All right, we do have a motion and a second. Please post your votes. Thank you. Thank you, Watsell. Item 10 is the city attorney's report. David?
We've already covered all my items.
All right. Item 11 is the city manager's report. Steve?
All I have is that, just a reminder to everyone that Putnam City schools start on Thursday. Bethany schools start on Friday, and we demand that you give our little people a break, and I guarantee you that our police officers will be giving all due diligence to these school zones, at least for several weeks. And so please, just be very safe, be very careful. These kids have been out all summer, and they forget to be that way, to be safe. So please remember for them. So, and I would like to also tell the citizens that at 23rd and College, we're going to be doing some work. We have a large group of kids that go from Apollo School that walk north through that intersection, and we determined that we didn't have enough safety measures there, and we're going to be adding some crossing sign. We can't. It's too far away to make it a school zone, but we can add the little hand and the stuff to make it a safer zone. So that will be unusual, and the drivers will need to get used to that. But it's going to happen very soon. So just please be aware of that. That's all I have, sir.
All right. JR, you have a financial report? All right.
Good evening, and I'll try to be brief with this one. Our general fund revenues were reported at $619,152. That was, at that time, $39,000 less than our budget of $658. Since that time, I've posted our court and police fine revenue of $74,102. So we actually had a month of positive $34,270. Our expenditures were $735,797, and that amount is favorable compared to budget by $165,000. And our net transfers to other funds decreased that general fund at this time by $66,000. Obviously, that'll be offset by the increase in the sales. Bethany Public Works, they came in at $687,000. That was a little bit less than our approved budget. On my approved budget, I had assumed that maybe we'd be making some rate adjustments effective July 1. Those didn't go into effect until August 1. Their expenses were $465 compared to $422 in July of last year. But they were still $267,000 under budget. The Capital Improvement Fund, their revenues and transfers were $31,859, leaving them with an unreserved fund balance of $1,054,000.
Thank you, JR. Any questions of John?
I'm just glad to see that our sales taxes keep going up when the other cities aren't doing that well.
Hey,
so,
it's great.
yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Let's keep it going that way.
Absolutely. They'll keep getting better if people just keep eating at those restaurants. Thanks, JR. Item 12 is council members' announcements, comments, and proposals. Councilmember Harris, I'll start with you tonight.
Well, I was prepared to thank Steve for all the work he's done as an interim, whatever your title is this week. And acting. And then I saw that the new city manager is going to start on September 7th. So it sounds like we have you one more meeting, and that way you can wrap all the stuff you've done during that term. But really been pleased with the job you've done. And I almost think that some days it was fun, right? A little more fun than you thought it might be. So thank you so much for your work. And we do look forward to J.D. Cox's arrival and are hoping he's feeling better. He had a surgery that was unplanned, but I think he's doing well now.
Thank you. Councilmember Holloway?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the improvements at 23rd and College for the safety measures of the children walking to school. I also wanted to thank Watsell for accepting the position of commissioner on the Metropolitan Library Board. I do thank you. And for all the other things that you do for Friends of the Library also. Mayor, you've probably already thought of this, but I would like to maybe have a plaque for Deanna Hanna for her years of service, and I can contact her, and when she's in town, maybe we could present that to her.
Absolutely.
I think that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you. Well, I think Mrs. Carlson also, reading your resume makes me want to go back to school. But thank you very much. Can't think of a better representative to represent the citizens of Bethany. Jeff and I talked briefly a little bit about a PIO, a Public Information Officer, and I don't know if we decided who that was going to be, if it was going to be the new city manager, or if it was going to be Chief Cole, or if we were going to designate someone to talk to the media. I don't remember the outcome of that, if anybody remembers. There you go. But
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about somebody in the interim, but that we would let the new manager choose.
that's a good idea. We do need somebody that is trained in PIO, has been schooled in that. MEG, I do hope that they do make a lot of the changes that a lot of people have discussed. I do hope they put the park protections in there if they come up with a category or a color or a code for parks to protect our parks, because the last I saw, there was no protection in there for the parks. And I do hope that change is made. I keep hearing that it's just an outline, it's just a guideline, it's just a rough draft, it's just a general guide. But in the language, it says this plan must be carried out. And those kind of contradict each other. And we need to figure out there's a lot of language in there that's like that I hope gets worked out before it comes back to us. And then the last thing about MEG is, and I don't know if this is correct or not, but they sent us the files in PDF format and told us to make the changes, I guess. Is that correct?
As of right now, we are complete and wholly the owners of that document.
Okay, so they're done
It's a Word
with it.
document, they're done with it, yeah. We accepted the file at a meeting, except for a number of changes, and the number of changes that we requested were made. We can do anything we want to that document at this time. If we want to go in there and protect the parks or whatever, if y'all want to vote on that, we can do anything to it. And, I mean, it's the city's document now.
When did it become the city's document? When did that happen?
When the council accepted the document.
Okay.
Several meetings, well, not several, but a few meetings ago, you accepted the document minus these changes. And those changes were made, and we, part of what we requested were these maps and the things that they had not added. Well, they'd added all that. The only thing I think that Danielle said they had not sent us were something along the lines of the windshield, the dashboard surveys or something like that, and that was never part of the deal. We got the numbers, but I don't think they were gonna include something else, but anyway, the rest of it, we got everything else we asked for. And so, it's all ours. We can do whatever we want with it at this point.
And we must remember that a plan is a plan. I mean, it's a fluid document.
Yeah,
It will change.
Well,
It
that should be in the
change.
language of the document then.
Yeah, it
That
is
is not
not
in the language
in
of the document.
stone. It isn't even funded in stone, so there's no
I
way
understand
we
that,
could
but I
do
think
it.
that language ought to be put in the document for the
Okay, I have
future.
never interpreted it as something that we have to do. We're the ones that make those
Well,
decisions.
that language is in the document. The document, the language of, this is just a fluid outline is not in the document. That's what I'm saying, the language isn't meshing with what we're talking about there.
MIG is not sending us enough money and staff to do all the stuff that is suggested in there. I think we decide what we're going to do and prioritize it.
Well, I'd just like to see the language change, because everybody here is in agreement with it's just a general outline, then that's what it ought to say in the document, not for us at this council, for the future. When there are a whole different group of people here, and they look at that document and say that it is just a general outline, you know. Somebody may figure out where the money comes from in this town in the future. You know, and it may need to change, that document might need to change on where some things need to happen. But that's all I got.
All right, Councilmember Lundstrom?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Carlson, thank you for your willingness to serve, and I can think of no one more qualified, both in your head and your heart, to serve. And I appreciate your family and your husband's involvement and your contribution to our city is well done. And Mayor, I think other than just thanking the library folks for showing up, I could tell you're excited. You can barely sit there. But we are excited too. And there are several things in my brain that will be momentous occasions. One is when you begin to move to the undisclosed location. The other, when the first hammer or the first claw goes into that old building. And then the next is when the ground starts breaking for the construction of the new. And those will be the most trying times for us because we will watch it painfully. Can't wait till it opens types of waiting. And then when it opens, it'll be a fantastic day. And those are, me being a construction guy, those beginning ground working days are horribly long, and those days after the building is up and the trim work is being done, those are also painstakingly long. And then you get the keys and we're good. So it's an exciting process, but I think we ought to let staff, John Robinson, do some anger management and get some
I'm all in.
sledgehammers and,
Yeah, you bet.
do the police, let them do the training, fire department do training for a couple of days and let them rip it open. So that's a good building to do that in. So fantastic times are ahead. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Larson?
I'm sitting here looking at the smiles on your face, ladies, and as you go through all the motions of moving that building, what's in it, I can't fathom what the work is that's going to be before you, but I'll be looking at those smiles as you're doing it, I'm sure. You are appreciated. I don't think we tell you enough, so I thank you, and I thank you especially for taking time out of your personal time and being here tonight. And Sal, I want to say thank you again. I do believe you are the woman for the job. I also wanted to say congratulations to Officer Justin Falter, who for the second year has been named to the governor's 20, one of the state's top 20 shooters that the governor acknowledges. He is our senior range instructor, and he as well is a mighty fine shooter, according to Chief Cole. I also would like to say thank you to Gilbert Carlson and Danielle for all the work that they have done on the comp plan. Because of personnel changes with Meg, it's been a little bit of a challenge. I want to kind of comment on what Mr. Moore has said and remind the council that on June the 7th, since I made the motion verbatim was to accept the comprehensive plan after clerical and map corrections to the document. And with the stipulation, the steering committee will remain in force for a minimum of 6 to 12 months to review and report back to the council with any recommended changes, revisions, or deletions to the plan. And then additionally, we went on and discussed the steering committee. Basically, what that says is that we did accept the plan, and there were specific clerical cleanup and map cleanups that needed to be done. I think we as the council need to understand that steering committee is still functioning, of which many of you are on that steering committee. And we have a responsibility as a steering committee to listen to the other council members and the citizens for any changes that need to be made. With that said, I think that we need to be very careful. I think that the work that we asked to be done has been done. But I do respect the time that the council who has not dealt with it and had the document in their hand for any length of time to have the time to review it and look at it to be sure something has not been overlooked. Regardless of what we may want to change in the concept of the plan, I personally feel that we have had before us a document that can be worked, that the recommendations from the steering committee so that the council and the planning and zoning can make the zoning changes or any other changes that need to be done is there to be worked. I think that we need to have a clear mind of what we actually did approve back on June the 7th. With that, again, I thank our staff, not only Gilbert and Donnell, but I think that Steve Caton's been involved in it. I know Steve Harshman's been involved in it. And it's been a massive undertaking. It's been years coming that we thought we needed it. And I think that there's been a lot of work put in it, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Herron.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing tonight.
All right, Councilmember Shirey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Watsell, for taking the reins at a very difficult time. I know we'll be calling on you from time to time to give us some help, and I certainly hope you're up to the task because we do need some help. The new library system, I just hope it does as well for us in the next 50 years as the old library did for us in the last 50 years. Granted, it definitely needed to have some sort of an update, and I do believe that what we have, if we had a print so I could get a better look at what it's going to be like, that it would be much more, I'd be much happier. And also, this past week, a person in the city of Bethany, Mr. Sonny Johnson, JD's younger brother, passed away. And I knew him, I think, before I knew JD. And he was a real good guy. And I talked to him less than probably 3 weeks ago, and he was going to play golf. And his wife said he played golf 3 times a week. So I just hope he has a level fairway and greens that don't roll off. And I think he'll make it just fine. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have to say. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Knapp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to reiterate what Steve said, that all of the schools are either in session or will be very soon. So just watch for young people that may not be paying close attention as you're driving around out there. I'd like to congratulate Mrs. Carlson and thank her for her service to date and into the future. And moving along into the new library and construction and all of that. I know every time I go into the library, I have at least a brief conversation about how the new library is going to be so nice. And I can appreciate that. I know my wife, being a librarian, is very excited about anything about the new library. So thank you all for being here tonight, too. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, I too want to express my excitement for the library, and thank you, ladies, from the library system for being here tonight. And also, again, Ms. Carlson, thank you for your willingness to serve as our member on the commission. We greatly appreciate that. And as Councilmember Larson mentioned, I want to congratulate Officer Justin Falter on the second year in a row that he's received the Governor's 20 Award for the 20 top shooters in the state of Oklahoma in law enforcement. That's a really big deal when you think about how many police officers there are in the state of Oklahoma and how many of those that are good shooters, but to be in the top 20 2 years in a row, that's a great accomplishment. So congratulations, Officer Falter. And I really can't believe that it's been 1 year, but 1 year ago next week, we lost Councilmember Tom Ray, who sat up here on the council for quite a few years. It's been kind of a crazy year, no doubt. We've found someone that was willing to fill his spot on the council, and Councilmember Herron, and so we're not horribly far off from a year of he being on the council. But want to give my thoughts and prayers to the Ray family. It's always difficult on that anniversary coming up, the first anniversary especially, when you lose a loved one. So my thoughts and prayers with Dottie and Kenny and Keith and their families as we come up on 1 year of Councilmember Ray's passing. And along those lines, I too want to give my condolences and thoughts and prayers to the Sonny Johnson's family. Just as our city manager, our new city manager, can tell you, going in for what should be a routine surgery can definitely have its complications, and that's exactly what happened to Mr. Johnston. What should have been a fairly simple routine surgery turned tragic after the surgery. So, and just like our city manager, who spent several days in ICU after what should have been a pretty simple surgery, you just never know. Life's short, and we aren't guaranteed any specific amount of time here on Earth, and you just absolutely never know when your time is going to come. But our thoughts and prayers definitely with Sonny Johnston's family. That's all I have tonight. Is there any new business to come before the Bethany City Council? Hearing none, if there's no objection, we will adjourn until September 6th, 2016. Without objection, I'll declare us adjourned. I'll now open the Bethany Public Works Authority. We have the consent docket items 1A and B. Do we have a motion for approval on those items?
Motion to approve, please.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Please post your votes. Thank you. Is there any new business to come before the Bethany Public Works Authority? I will mention, JR handed me a note. Our new bill printing system is coming online, the Rezo machine, is that correct? So watch, your bill will look a little different. The envelope especially is going to be different when your bill comes in the mail. So don't throw away what you think may be a different envelope. That's your water and sewer trash bill. So those are coming online. If there's be in your mail, snail mail box.
They are colorful, and so they look different, much different, but they are the real bill.
The real deal.
Real
Real
deal.
deal.
Real
Bill.
deal bill.
Yeah, there you go.
Real deal deal.
Don't throw it away thinking it's junk mail. All right. If there's no objection, I'll declare us adjourned until September 6th, 2016. Hearing no objection, we are adjourned. I'll now open the Bethany Hospital Trust. We have the consent docket items 1A and B. Do we have a motion for approval on those items?
Motion to approve, please.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Please post your votes. Thank you. Item 2 is new business. Is there any new business to come before the Bethany Hospital Trust? Hearing none, if there's no objection, I'll declare us adjourned until September 6, 2016. Without objection, we are adjourned. I'll now open the Bethany Development Authority. We have the consent docket items 1A through C. Do we have a motion for approval on those items?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Please post your votes. Thank you. Is there any new business to come before the Bethany Development Authority? Hearing none, if there's no objection, I'll declare us adjourned until September 6, 2016. Without objection, we are adjourned, and that concludes tonight's business. Thank you.